Hello and welcome to the Isuzu UTE A-League's Download, a brand new weekly show reviewing all the action from the A-League's men's. I'm Max Rushden, joined, it says here, by an esteemed panel. Look, slim pickings in Melbourne. What are you going to get? Are you the face of the Isuzu UTE yet, Archie? I know it's what you want to be.
Last minute call up, to be honest, after that introduction.
And I've got here the second or third greatest Danish goalkeeper of all time.
It's probably third.
You think third?
Yeah, I've slipped. Kasper, I think, has overtaken me. But I'm happy to be on the, on the podium.
More than 100 caps.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Can't knock it, can you? As well.
No.
The league put together a really good video. It was hosted by Ellie Mangum, who's like one of Australia's greatest football exports. Let's have a little look.
A lot can happen in 20 years. And in the case of the A-Leagues, just about everything has.
Unbelievable! Alessandro Diamanti.
I have to say thank you to myself.
Here's the 20 more.
That Diamante bit's great, isn't it? Just have to thank myself for this. Look, you made the highlights reel there.
Yeah, I got in there a few times, but
Well
Diamante, what a goal that was. That was incredible. And a real character. Amazing when you think of players that have come to this.
And he's still here. He's a youth coach at Melbourne City, so he's still, helping young kids coming through as well.
Give us a personal highlight then.
Well, to be fair, I mean, all those are bringing back some memories.
You weren't in all of them, to be fair, right?
Well, that the Bolt one at the end, where he was part of when he was starting his football journey, he wanted to start it here at Central Coast. I want to change mine. I think that was pretty cool. Look, there's been a couple. I would say Brisbane Central Coast Grand Final, last minute winner went to extra time and then it went to penalty shootout. I think that was amazing for me.
Yeah, again, like when you look at the A-League, there's so many dramas. There's so many things. But for me, just a single moment in time was that Ryland McGree scorpion kick. I think the way it happened, obviously, it was against my club, Melbourne City, which hurt. But and again, it turned the game around. And it went around the world. And I think, that's been the knock sometimes on the A-League is, it's Australia. But here we actually produced something that was in the Puskas Awards. I don't know, I think Mohamed Salah won the competition. I've got no clue why, because that goal should have won. And
I don't know, I've got an issue with scorpion kicks.
You got an issue with it? It's because you can't do one yourself?
Well, I definitely can't do one. Now, look, we're about to preview the season club by club, and I think this might be the hardest job in football. But if you just look at the churn from each squad, how the hell is anyone meant to have any idea about how anyone's going to go? And also, you don't see the pre-season games. I'm not saying what we're about to do is pointless, right? But it is an exercise in a lot of guesswork.
Yeah, well, I feel like it is when you lead into a season, especially with an A-League season, because you really don't understand what a team's going to do. But the beautiful thing about our probably league in some respects, is that when you talk about the churning of squads and that, it's relatively the same players. Yeah. So you know what you're getting, and I think we can kind of maybe predict a little bit off that. But I hope that I'm wrong half the time when I'm saying a team might finish down the bottom. I like to see a team finish up the top. But you never know.
I think the exciting thing is we'll see a lot of young players being given an opportunity. Like we see Aaron Kunda has obviously gone to Bayern Munich. There's players leaving. But then we're talking about 16, 17, 18-year-olds now potentially going into starting lineups. Yeah, it gives us a bit more work and a bit more background checks, but that's also, the reality and the excitement of the league is that we're just looking for these new talents, and it's great for Australian football.
And you used to get excited, especially when you hear about a Brazilian player coming in, and you're thinking, straight away, this guy's going to light up the league. Then you realise he's actually just an Uber driver that's, his skills are basically at Uber driver level. And but it's hit and miss. But I tell you, when you get it right, they are really special. I mean, we've had some really good ones. I know at Melbourne Victory that have been unbelievable. Fred, for instance, was a real diamond in the rough. He went on to do some great things in the MLS, but amazing.
All right, let's start then. Adelaide United. Archie, you're in charge.
Yes.
8th last year. They got loads of kids, right? The production line is great there. You talked about young players coming in, but with kids comes inconsistency.
Yeah, well, that's right. And with Adelaide United, they're probably a club that's really renowned for promoting their youth players, which is really great, and especially these youngsters. But some amazing stories. Like you talked about Iran Kunda that came onto the stage. Like he was an absolute excitement machine. It's a shame that he had to go off to bigger, better things. But we'll see glimpses of him with the Socceroos. But he's a massive loss for them. I think another big loss for them is Ibasuki. He's such a big striker, big presence, 14 goal a season, especially what you need when you've got a young squad, a bit of experience. But I think Carl Viet seems to just find a way of being able to get the best out of the youngsters, because he started as an academy coach. So I think once you kind of understand as an academy coach what I need to do to get the best out of young players, and you can nurture them and then get them to the next level and then nurture them again, I think he's such a great asset for the Adelaide United.
Yeah, and I think for Adelaide, you look at last season, I more or less scored 50 goals, conceded 50 goals. Yeah. They've got some issues that they need to plug. They've signed Bart Vrins from Sparta Rotterdam, highly experienced. He'll be hugely important to plug the hole at the back. Delianov in goal, still as a relatively young keeper. And then Archie Goodwin, signed from Newcastle Jets.
He's halfway there. He's got Archie, right?
Yeah.
He's halfway to greatness.
You only like players with your own name, right?
It makes it hard,
narrow it down.
I don't watch much football.
A great talent, has had injury worries, so again, where does he fit in? So they've got some things, I think, that they need to plug. But you got Stefan Mork as well. He's got high experience. You've got the two Spaniards, Isias, in midfield. Yeah. So they've got things there. But I feel they finished 8th last year. You just think that they need to take a step. They can't be happy with 8th. They need to be in finals. They've had this relationship now with PSV. Some of the young players have been over there. So they've got. I think there's pressure to produce talent first of all, as you said, and also to now. They still got to deliver some better results, I feel.
Yeah. Look, I know Iran Kunda's not there, but actually the joy of seeing one of your own go on, like to Bayern Munich, right? For those fans, I'm a Cambridge United fan, right? When we sold Dion Dublin to Man United for £1 million, I was like £1 million, and then he was in games that were on the television, right? It was totally extraordinary, and like for those fans who've seen him the first time he's come on the pitch, the first time he's played, to go there, be in that Champions League squad for Bayern Munich, that is actually. We all want to win, right? But most teams don't win. So actually being a fan is about more than that, isn't it? And so to have that, to be able to see how he's doing, if he gets any minutes, right? For those Adelaide fans will mean so much.
Yeah, and I feel like it's for myself a real, and just football lovers of the Australian game, to actually see these youngsters and you see them on the maybe cusp, or they're on the bench of a Bundesliga game that I think the story was. So there is a bit of joy for everyone to see an Australian player have the success or go on to bigger, better things, which is beautiful.
But I think we need Adelaide to do well, because Hindmarsh, when I play, is one of the best places to play in the A-League. The tight little stadium now with the refurbishment after the Women's World Cup, now it's top draw. The fans there are superb. Again, so we all want Adelaide to do well, and the excitement there, and it'll be a job for Calvert, I think, to again try to bring these young players in and try to get some cohesion, and then stop leaking goals, because I'm sure they'll score, but you can't leak 50 and expect to be in finals.
All right, then Auckland FC, and we talked about churn. Sort of fair enough, right? It's fair enough that they've signed a lot of players because they didn't have any, right? So this is a real journey into the unknown, right?
It is in some way, but again, it's exciting. You got now two teams in New Zealand. You got the Kiwi Classical coming up in a couple of weeks, and you got a guy in Bill Foley who's done it before. He's obviously invested in Bournemouth. He's got the Las Vegas Golden Knights in the NHL. I think they won the championship or the Stanley Cup quite early. So expectations, but also a blueprint for success. And I know Nick Becker, who's gone from Melbourne City into the CEO role there, and you've got Stephen Corica, who's an experienced manager, and Terry McFlynn. So they've had a big job to do, but I think they've done well. I think starting with the defence. I think, getting Paulsen, a bit controversy from Wellington.
I mean, this is dirty as hell.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Obviously over Bournemouth and come through that connection. But, how good was he last year? To get a good goalkeeper, you got Sakai, very experienced, Japanese international. And the Kiwi connection on Tommy Smith, that they're trying to get Kiwi players, local players in. And I think that story as well is exciting. So overall, some South American flair. I think they just signed Moreno last couple of days. So it'd be interesting to see how he does. So I think that there's enough storylines and a blueprint there with experience. I think they could be pretty successful.
Yeah. I think the Paulsen thing is brilliant. It's brilliant for Auckland. It's actually brilliant for Wellington Phoenix. I'll explain why. Because we all want a rival, right?
Yeah,
we all want rivalries, but you can't just create. They can't just you can't have some management suit saying, now here's your rival, go and hate each other, right? You need to have a reason for it. And so, just to clarify, Bill Foley owns Bournemouth. He owns Auckland. He signed Paulsen for Bournemouth. And as far as I understand, we're not going to loan him back to Auckland. And they've done exactly that, right? Yeah. And that is great, because now there is a reason. That is the spot. So the game's week 3, I think, which is brilliant.
Yeah, I'm going to that game.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
I'll be interested.
There's a reason now for them to go, actually, now we can hate each other, because you can't just force that.
No, I definitely agree with that. And for me, it's really about capturing the fans. Like you really want to start your first couple of games great, and just give that belief in wanting to build something and the club around the fans, because that's what's going to keep this club afloat. Not necessarily, definitely results, but if you see a team really going well, that's something you really want to throw your hat behind.
And you build that up to the derby, so the first couple of games, and that home game in the first round, and then hopefully a win, and then you're off.
And I didn't know that story about Paulsen. So.
Should you use research?
Come on, Archie. Again, you look at they've signed like Dan Hall as well. Like he won with Central Coast. So I think defensively, they'll be a strong unit. It'll be hard to beat. Yeah. And that'll be, I think, the focus from Corica is like, let's try to keep clean sheets and get the wins and build some momentum.
And a good thing for me too is like seeing Jake Brimmer. Like we talked about Jake Brimmer off the air here. He's sort of lost his way a little bit with Melbourne Victory. He was a superstar for those couple of seasons. He won the Johnny Warren medal. And sometimes as a player, when you're at an environment and you're kind of maybe losing that little bit of passion for the game, a new environment, maybe different culture. Revitalises your football and your career, and you start to enjoy it. With anything, if you start enjoying it, you'll see the results definitely out on the football pitch, and you'll see with him.
Are you enjoying this?
Huh?
This?
Well, if you could take it a little bit easier on me, I might.
What's a good season for them?
You know what? It could be hit and miss, as you said. I think momentum is important for them. But I think the quality is there, and they rely on a few of their foreign imports to gel and for the team to gel. But I think I wouldn't be surprised. My expectations are finals for them, and again they want to finish above Wellington. Wellington had such a good season last year, and that'll be an interesting battle to keep an eye on. But yeah, I expect big things.
Brisbane Roar then, 9th last year. Changed their manager 3 times, which seems excessive in quite a short season. If you ask me, Thomas, what chance do you give them?
I think it's also been a reflection of there's been some off-the-pitch issues and financial issues and everything else. So there has been a turnaround. But Satkovic now got his first full season. I think he's got definitely a spine of players. Berenguer, I saw him at Melbourne City. He's a technically good player if he can stay fit. He's signed 3 players, Van der Sar, Varland and O'Halloran from Adelaide, and they all come with obviously experience as well. Some young talent. I'm very excited about Thomas Wanningham up front. I think he can provide some excitement. He's one of the talents, that could potentially...
He's only saying that because his name's Thomas.
Yeah, okay.
There's a bit of a theme going on.
I don't run like you, but Rafael Struik, who's an Indonesian player, apparently he's got like 4.5 million followers on Instagram, so they need to get him playing and get the Indonesian fans over.
Well, I was going to say he's got 4.2 million
4.2.
followers on Instagram, which is 4.17 million more than me. But like, if this show goes very well, we could be huge in Indonesia. And think what advertising opportunities that would be for you,
let's
Archie.
get him on the show.
Okay,
That
Raphael,
could
you're
open
very
up
welcome.
The door.
Join
with
us.
So many opportunities.
Well, the interesting part of that, about having such incredible fame, right, is the pressure that puts on you, how you manage that as a young kid, right?
Yeah.
Because suddenly, social media is a very weird world. Whether it's good or not to be on it as a player, who knows? You just saw Brennan Johnson, the Spurs player, came off it because of abuse, and he's gone on a really good run. That might be a coincidence or not, but that's a different pressure for this guy, right?
Yeah, it is. But again, I think there's it's excitement for him. He's still young. There's opportunity. He's obviously played for Indonesia. He's done well. So I think it's a good signing. And I think looking through their squad, I'm expecting improvement. I think there's enough experience there. You got obviously Jay O'Shea in midfield. I think he, if he has a good season, he'll provide assists and plenty of opportunities for Waddingham up front. O'Halloran as well can get in the goals. So yeah, I'm expecting Zatkovic to improve this side, and finals, that might be a step too far, I think. But I think they'll be pushing. I expect them to be pushing for top six.
Central Coast, right? Champions, won everything, right? They won the treble. They're going for the third in a row. No one's ever done that. But they have lost two real key players here in midfield, right? And that's a massive issue.
Yeah, for me, that's a massive issue. I think I look at Nisbet, he was just incredible the last few seasons. He's such a big, we talk about presence, and he's only a small stature. I say big presence.
No, but you're right. There are some players who, it's like Bernardo Silva, who make me want to be short. Why would you want to be short? But Nisbet's got that low centre of gravity.
Yeah, definitely. Player. If anything, Nisbet's maybe a little bit too short for me. If I was going to go, okay, I want to be like...
What's your dream height?
I'd actually like to be a little bit taller. To be honest, I'm looking at Thomas
it's really
and
nice
yourself, Max.
I'm like... It's nice to look down on you.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about losing those players.
Yes, I think the core of the midfield is such an important part of any team, I think. And to lose that, it's so hard to find that.
Ballard and Farrell as well.
Yeah, it just
plenty.
Amazing. And then you got Vukovic. You would know, as someone being an experienced player and a leader, to be able to marshal such a young squad, and you lose that. I think that's a big loss.
Pavlicic has come in from Sydney. So there'll be a different dynamic. Dan Hall has gone to obviously Auckland. So there's a big change there. Sainsbury, you know him better than me. He's a big addition.
Yeah, I think he's great, and I guess when you lose someone like a Vukovic, experience, leadership, Sainsbury's been that also. I haven't seen him back in Australia for the last 10 years. And
I can't believe he was only 32. I had him at about 50.
Well, to be fair, I actually thought he was a lot older, because he just seems to be all over the place.
Played for Australia forever,
yeah,
as far as I can tell.
Definitely.
He might not be fit. There's still question marks over his fitness is real key, isn't it?
Yeah, and Kaltak, you're just hoping that partnership with him and Sainsbury, get him fit, and then that Pavlicic in goal can try to come in and start pretty strong. I think they've got a decent side, but there's question marks, and where do the goals come from as well? I think that's also a big issue.
Let's talk about Macarthur, Thomas. 5th last year, lost in the elimination final. Not been the easiest close season for them, has it really?
I think it was great that they won the Australian Cup. I think they had a good run. Stashovsky, I think has done a good job, and Luke Bratton, I think, is a great addition. I played with him at Melbourne City. He's a very good professional. I think he can come in and do a good job. He's already put his imprint in, like you said, after the final. I'm a serial winner. Yeah. So those are the players you want in your squad, and Yakulis from Melbourne City as well. So they've brought in good talent. Economies. Da Silva is back, I think. So if they can keep those people fit. They've got a good squad there, and they've already shown early in the season that they should be in the sort of same level as last year.
winning the Australia Cup, like how big a deal is that, and how much can you read that into the season that's coming up?
Well, I think it's a big deal. Like it's a cup. Personally, would I want the cup to be running alongside the season? Yeah, because I think that builds momentum, and because that's when everyone's got their eyeballs on it. But talk about the NPL, like a great story to follow with the Macarthur. You were talking about the goals. It's Harrison Sawyer, who's come from South Melbourne, scored plenty of goals in the NPL last season. It'll be interesting to see his step up. He's a big centre forward. Is that a sign of how they want to play? We'll wait and see.
I
but
want a team that get it launched.
But it also shows
I love
that
a team that get it launched.
Yeah, but it also shows that there is a pipeline in Australian football, and you've got a chance if you play in the NPL or if you play in some of the lower leagues. That if you do well, you'll be given a chance, and you see that across the league. There's plenty of young talent and young players coming through.
Let's talk about Melbourne City. Came sixth last year. Bit of sort of doldrums-ish for Melbourne City, Thomas?
Yeah, I think that the last couple of years have been good, but still disappointing. I think they definitely finished on a bad note. I thought, obviously the loss under Rado Vidicic in a final the year before against Central Coast was a bit of an embarrassment, I thought. And then last year as well, I thought a lot of mistakes were made in that elimination final against Victory. You're playing with 11 men versus 10. And you still managed to give it away for a lot of reasons. A turnaround, I think obviously Jamie McLaren leaving is big. We talked about Yakolis going to Macarthur. Tolga Aslan, who I thought was one of the best players of the league. You have to sort of, try to find someone that can come in and do it. And then you want to keep the players fit. Lecky's still there. He was in and out last year, never really hit top form. Tilio, same sort of issue. Naboot has been injured a lot. So they got the names on paper. Lost Curtis Good, which I feel is a big loss. So they've got some holes to fill, and they've got players that need to stay fit and step up.
Goals is the issue, right?
Yeah, well, look at Jamie McLaren. I mean, he's a player, didn't play sort of too much to the back end of last season, but he's a player that gets you 20-odd goals. And especially in a competition like ours, someone that does that every single year is such a big loss, and he is such a vocal player and point for those wider players. And you've got to get those Andrew Naboots back to fitness. Leckies, they've actually just signed those boys, I think to the end of 26, which is just showing that they want to keep that experience and quality there, so some of the younger players can learn off that. Nathaniel Atkinson's another player that they've got back into the team, which. He was over in Scotland, so it'll be interesting to see how his game's developed. But like you said, on paper, they are a very good team. But, maybe taking out a Tolga Arslan and a Jamie McLaren, where maybe they didn't see sort of eye to eye a lot of the times during last season, you kind of get rid of that, and then maybe the culture just changes a little bit and they get back to winning.
Yeah, and then for Melbourne City, you've got to start to bank on the new players. You've got Jonathan Cohen coming in. He played for Maccabi Tel Aviv, so at a reasonably high level. You need him to hit the ground running. Andreas Kuhn, who's an Austrian who's again played at a decent level. So you're looking at those players. They have really to come in and hit the ground running to get Melbourne City up where they want to get to.
Melbourne Victory. Go on then, Archie.
Now, what have we got here? Look, they're a good chance this year. When you look at last season, really only the last kick of the game in normal time, and they would have won that grand final. But Central Coast again just seemed to show that little bit extra. They've kept majority of the players at Melbourne Victory, which is really great. They've got a new manager in there. It'll take, I think, a little bit of time to understand the patterns of how he wants this team to play. It's hard to get a real gauge of what they did in the Australia Cup because they played a lot of NPL sides. No disrespect to the NPL side, but really the Melbourne Victory and A-League team should be doing good against them. So I don't know. They only sort of played the 2 games against Adelaide. I thought Adelaide were better. And maybe should have got a result there. Macarthur just lacked a little bit of something up front, but they've got the quality. One that's really concerning me actually is that number 9 role. I think
You don't believe Nikas Vegas is the...
Well, look at Bruno Fornaroli. Does he deserves the kind of...
We've played long enough that, whatever you did last year, it doesn't really count.
Yeah, but this is a guy that scored you how many goals last season? He was like made you into the Socceroos. Then all of a sudden he's not even in the starting lineup. I don't know what's happening there, but it'd be interesting because Virgos, I didn't see much of him in this Australia Cup, and against Macarthur, non-existent. Against Adelaide, non-existent. Scored a couple of goals against NPL.
You're very harsh.
Oh, well, look, I want him to do well, no doubt about it, because look, I want Melbourne Victory to do well, but I just feel like with Bruno Fornaroli,
Yeah.
I think what happened there? Is there something going on there that we don't
I don't know. I know Patrick Kisnorbo. I play with him. Again, I know him as a manager. He wants things in a certain way. He'll get them fighting fit. And if you don't quite fit in there, so he might see Vergus as a Fornaroli, runs, but it might not be.
Reading between the lines there, what you're saying is he wants really fit players to get it.
And I think we already seen the potential issues with Asani as well, because he's in my view,
and that's another.
He's a luxury player. Like
what about that issue though in the final?
But that's the management, and that's the hard decisions he has to make. But also he needs to deal with the consequences. So that's the story to follow. Is can he keep Fornaroli and Asani happy? Can he keep the squad together? And but I know him. He's very steadfast in his way, and he'll drive down the road that he believes is the right.
How big a deal is obviously his past at Melbourne City, right? Coming to Victory, like if it doesn't go well, do the fans get on his case? Is this like Sol Campbell going to Arsenal? Give me an idea of the rivalry and how big a deal it is, because he has obviously his entire life at Melbourne City.
Yeah, well, look at
obviously
what
I'm
he's
sitting
done
there.
there.
I'm hoping it all implodes. Like just.
PK, are you watching this? That's your mate.
I like PK, but he's jumped over to the dark side now. Good on him.
Well, so he's got definitely a lot to lose because of the success he's had at Melbourne City, and then come to Melbourne Victory. And if you don't start well and get the ball rolling, it's going to.
Yeah, but also from everything that happened in France, I think he needs some success now back in his managerial career. He didn't go well in France, and now it's a big challenge and a big opportunity as well to get him, back up the.
And I love PK. I think his mentality
he's a good guy.
is just amazing. He's just got this super focus, and maybe it's something that's needed, especially when you're coming out of a Popovich era, which his mindset's like, got the blinkers on. This is how it's going to get done. Maybe that transition might be a little bit easier for the players when you've got someone like PK.
I guess it depends if the Popovich and Kisnorbo blinkers are the same.
Yeah.
Because if they're going in different directions, then it's totally different.
And that's going to be...
that's the question.
Yeah, definitely.
Newcastle Jets, Archie. Talk to me.
Yeah, this is I don't know how to really talk to this Newcastle Jets team. It's a really inexperienced team. You look at what they've done with their captain, Grozos. Yeah. He's the youngest in history to be given that armband.
He's 12.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're old enough, you're good enough.
Yeah, well,
you're good enough, you're old enough. Excuse me.
Exactly, but it'd be interesting to see, because I don't know from watching, and it might be completely different to being in that environment, in that bubble, about what his leadership qualities are. If he's that type of player that just leads from example, but I didn't see too much of like that kind of real vocal, getting players around. That for me is a concern at Jets, is having that experience and the leadership. I think that might be. They've definitely certainly got the youth and the quality there, but you need players and experience and leadership to be able to guide these ones. And I don't know if they've got enough of that. But
I think for Robert Stanton, I think that the good thing was that there seems to be stability in the background now. There's the finances are in order, and he can sort of, I know they've been used to sort of focusing on the pitch, but I still feel they've got good players. Clayton Taylor, got 7 goals last year. He'll be a great asset. Signed a Brazilian Velisol, and another one that's be interesting to follow.
Depends if his overdrive rating is above 4.7. That's how you judge it, right?
And definitely like Lachlan Rose from Macarthur. He was a cult hero there, and he can score goals. can they replicate or can they find Stapopoulos? I struggle to pronounce his name, but again,
Stamatolopoulos. It took me all season to get that right. Don't worry. Let's get his first name. Apostolos Stamatolopoulos.
Yeah, no. I don't even go. I just know he scored a lot of goals in Buhaja as well. So they've got to try to find it. So that's going to be an issue, but it's probably have to be a sort of a share of duties. The goals have to sort of come from, all sorts of directions. But yeah, it's a team that I'd probably find the hardest to place in the league. Yeah. Do they go up or do they go down? I don't quite know. Yeah.
Perth Glory then finished last season, Thomas.
Again, another club with a little bit more stability with investment coming in, and at least they can sort of focus a bit more on the future. I think David Drilic is a good signing. He was in the Red Bull system, and obviously at Sydney for a long time, and now he's got the opportunity. I worked with him a bit over the summer, so I know how focused and determined he is, and I think they've got a good spine there with from Oliver Sale up to Adam Taggart, Williams as well. So they've got some experience they can count on. You can see where the goals are coming from. Your young players like Faisal. I think you were mentioning that he's been likened to Mo Salah. So high expectations again. We're back to it.
Just show him on his right.
Yeah, and like you got Brendan O'Neill is back there with Josh Riston. So some more experience. So I think Drilic can we saw a little bit in the Australian Cup. They scored 5 goals against Melbourne City, but still conceded 4. And that could potentially be the Achilles heel, the back line. Can they get it right? Because that's also been a problem over the last couple of years, and why they've been at the bottom.
But is he doing sort of Ralph Rangnick, Red Bull, that high press type?
Yeah, I would expect him to incorporate some of that stuff.
But it's sort of, you can't incorporate some. I mean, that's the whole point of the Red Bull model. Is you either
but you also got to have the players. I think good managers assess the squad. Like, yes, you come in with a philosophy, but again, you can't fit a round peg into a square hole. You got to then look at the qualities and then tweak your systems and at least give your side the best chance to win. And so, he's smart enough to do that. Again, they won't finish last. I can guarantee you that. They'll definitely climb the table.
And I will say with Perth too, it's like, it was great that the new ownerships came in, but that back end of last year, no one knew what was going on. There was really no direction, and I think they were just waiting for that end of the season to start make those changes. They brought in like you've said, they brought in a great manager. They've got players to really build off, and they can really make Perth a tough place to go, which is it always has been as a player going there, travelling and
the jet lag.
Oh, the jet lag.
Yeah, it's you could, and again, they got to get the home form going again, because that's their big advantage. Get the atmosphere back. Yeah. Because over COVID, I think they lost that. I remember, the times I played there, we went there and it was always such a tough place to play. Yeah. The crowd were on top of you and everything else. A bit like Adelaide in some ways, small, tight stadium. They need to get that back and the excitement back. And I think Drilic can get that. They've got a couple of South American players as well. They've got in Kanga and Caicedo as well. So hopefully they can help bring some flair as well and excite the crowd.
And another interesting one for me too is great to see Josh Risden there, but Brandon O'Neill. Like, how he left a little bit, the fans not having the greatest of taste in their mouth when I think he went to the Jets. And now he's coming back, and really he's a good player, and he's someone that really has that experience in the midfield. But I wonder how much he has to really give out there. We might see a really great season from him, try to win those fans back, because when I did see on social media when they did sign him, he actually, I think he wrote an apology letter saying, look, I'm sorry that I left. Maybe I'm making this up, but it sounds good. Yeah. But I'm sorry, I'm going to try to do the best that I can when I come back. And that, just hearing those words means that he's going to really put in a big effort this year, and someone like him in that middle of the park is what they needed, and it'd be great.
Sydney FC. I think we can be pretty sure that Douglas Costa's never driven an Uber. It's some signing. I mean, the thing about these signings is you just don't. You have absolutely no idea, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's great headlines. The guy has an amazing pedigree. You don't know what type of Douglas Costa that you are getting, but you hope it is one that really just, becomes, quote, one of the lads, joins in and shows all his class and experience.
Well, it's almost like we've been waiting for these big signings. And the way that the world and the football world has been the last few years, the money's obviously, that we would tempt these players maybe years back.
And MLS, growth of MLS is an issue, right? In a genuine way, because if you play in Europe and you can just take one plane, not two.
Yeah.
You go, all right, I'll get some sun, I'll be in the west coast of the States, that's fine. Like, that has been an issue for the A-League, for sure.
100%, and the money very similar to what they were probably getting there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we probably haven't got that money to give these players, so it's always been difficult to get those really big marquee players, like a Del Piero, like a Heskey, I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
You should mention me, but yeah.
Yeah, Sorensen. Sorry, Sorensen.
Sorensen, yeah.
Sorensen. That's what I was
Whatever
trying.
happened to Thomas Sorensen?
I don't know. Apparently he's riding his bike in Brighton somewhere. But we haven't been able to get these players, and now we've got like someone like a Douglas Costa. By all indication is that he's here to play, and you can see with the Asia Cup they're in that he's already having an impact. He wants to do something here, and we've got him here, and the excitement again now is that we've got marquee players, and we want him to do well.
I think that front part of the pitch, I don't think there's any stronger in the league. You got Patrick Klimala, Polish striker. You can't forget Joe Lolly. He bloody had a big impact last season.
Yeah, lovely player.
And Caceres as well. So you've got so much creativity, delivery. Douglas Costa, Klimala. If he doesn't, get 15 goals, I'll be very, very surprised.
Yeah, and we always seem to find really great centre backs here in Australia, and we produce them. And I really feel like that Matthews is going to go on and have an amazing career. You could just see he's able to read the game really well. He's strong in the challenge. He's someone that I really hate to play against as an attacker, because he's not afraid to get stuck in. So they've got some really good young players. Segicic is another player that's I've seen in the Australia Cup. We probably didn't see much because they got knocked out, but he's an exciting left-sided player. Kucharski is someone that needs to really kick on this season, and I feel like with more game time and some of these players leaving, so they've got. I feel like they've got a really nice
balance.
There's good balance, yeah.
I guess at the back, like Popovic is going in January, right?
Yeah,
and
so
then
that's
Hayden
an
Matthews,
issue.
they may not keep, keeping hold of him is perhaps an issue, right?
Yeah, and again, they have a hole to fill at that point. But then again, I'm sure they need to have a plan for that. So that's something you keep in the background, and you have contingencies. Young players, experienced players you can bring in. So again, overall, I think they're probably the stronger side on paper in the league.
If we were doing this last year and we got to Wellington Phoenix, you wouldn't have said third, would you?
No, and you almost waited all year for the wheels to fall off for this Wellington side. The new manager coming in, Chiefy, I thought he was excellent. He just seemed to get the belief and confidence out of the players that he had there. And I would speak to the players after games, especially being close to Costa Barbarouses. And I just wanted to ask, what is it about this manager? Because he's only quite young. He hasn't had too much experience in that managerial role, but the answer really was that he knows the game really well, and he's just a really great guy. And he gives the players confidence, and it'd be just interesting how he can back up another season like that, and losing big players like Zawada, the striker, is a big loss for them. You also look at Kraev as another player, creative player up front. It'd just be interesting to see how he feels those spots.
Yeah, because I think, Kraev, I think is a big loss, and then you got Ben Old as well, because they were the link to Costa Barbarouses, who had a great season.
Oh, amazing.
Is Marco Rojas, obviously coming back. is he the player that can be that link? Rufa in midfield, he's a very good player, and then Ishige and Nagasawa, like two Japanese players with pedigree.
You said that really well.
with pedigree that come in and have played at the highest level, internationals as well. They need to bet in, but the mentality that they'll come with. They'll run forever. And it just seems like Italiano Cifi, he gets players. He's got a philosophy.
My sources tell me that they can be a hard watch.
Yeah, but it's sort of on and off.
Right.
But they can be pretty solid. Play with five. They can be
low block and
but then transition. I think last year you watched them more, but they were just efficient. Like they didn't have many chances.
What we come to football for is efficiency.
Yeah, hey, whatever gets you wins. We can sit here and we can sit on our pedestal and they're like, we need to play in a certain way, but you got to respect it. And I thought.
So says a man who played under Tony Pulis for a long time.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to protect myself.
I know, I understand.
And I'm really looking forward to that Classico. What do they call it?
The Kiwi Classico.
Kiwi Classico. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Let's talk about Western Sydney Wanderers then. 7th last year, they brought in Juan Mata, who is a wonderful guy, right? He has the Common Gold charity. Yes. I don't want to talk about my charity work. I am part of that.
That's incredible.
And it's a great, it's a great idea. And we talked about Douglas Costa. We talk about these big players coming in. The one thing with Juan Mata, right, is that he is going to be a model professional, right? So where they play him is interesting. The legs they have around him, we know his ability.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, it's as important. Obviously, you'll be judged on the pitch, but for Western Sydney, you can look back at, ever since Popovic probably left, they've sort of been underachieving since they moved into the new stadium. They haven't quite lived up to their expectations, of their pre-season hype videos that they pump out every year. But again, that's up to Alan Static now and Mata, with the leadership and try to build something. And I think it's very undervalued to have a player like that who's been there and because they have a great academy there at Western Sydney for those young players to look at a guy, what he does before training, how he goes about things, his knowledge, tap into that, like talk to him, like ask him questions. That sort of experience you can't normally get in Australian football, and that's, I think it's hugely important. And we talked about Wellington Phoenix losing a good player, but Krev, he's gone to Western Sydney, so with Brendan Borrello is still there. So they've got quality, up front to get some goals. So I don't think they've lost. Marcelo lost to the back, Dylan Perez, Margush, the goalkeeper. I think the rumour is that Lawrence Thomas is injured, for the first couple of games. So that's a bit of a miss. Apparently Static hasn't made his mind up who else he's going to play. So that's going to be tough for the first couple of games. But I think overall, there's a chance to move forward.
Where do you play Mata? Like, do you play him? I wondered if you played him just in front of the defence, right? Because he's obviously got all the ability to take the ball in tight spaces, and you don't have to run if you play in a 6. I don't know what his legs are like, right? He's 36 now, but in the 10, you have to move more, right?
Yes. Oh, well, this is where I think the beautiful thing about Juan Mata coming to Australia is that, like, he really is that player that all you need to do is give him the ball and find him to give the ball. Don't make him run all over the place and get it. Just find a spot for him where he can, because I feel like this is where we with Nani, when he came to Australia, he'd lost that speed. So he'd lost the speed to be able to do what he'd done at a high level.
That's never been Mata's game, right?
Never been his game.
Yeah.
So you already know that he's going to be silky on the ball and great. You don't have to worry about him making runs in behind or him not being able to do that. You've seen that with Nani. He comes to the thing, he doesn't have that ability to run past players. You play him in a 10 role that he's not suited to, and then immediately you're not getting the quality of that player. Yeah. Juan Mata, you don't need to do anything. You just say, mate, try to get on the ball, and we'll work off that. And that's the great thing about it.
I interviewed him once. He was promoting some computer game, I don't know, Call of Duty 8 or something. And so we talked about football, and the whole idea of the interview was, right, well, we'll do a football chat, and then I'll say, what have you been up to? And then you can plug what you're plugging, right? That's how these things work sometimes. And I said, what have you been up to? And then he spent 15 minutes just talking to me about how he'd been to the Lion King and he loved musicals. So, I don't know if there is a sort of West End.
Football players can be
Sydney.
multifaceted.
No, I understand that.
I do a bit of
wasn't-
painting, nobody would expect that. So,
that's
Juan
interesting.
Mata.
No, I'm not
Juan
judging
Mata,
footballers.
Do you think you could bring one of those paintings
I didn't
in,
expect him to talk
No,
about
but-
The Lion King. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Are you a watercolours or an oils man?
No, I'm acrylics,
Acrylics?
He's a paint by numbers guy.
No, come on. No, I'm interested.
Hey, come on, don't bring me down.
Will you bring in a
Yeah. Next time I'll bring in one of my.
And what do you do? Sort of still life, or I'm not asking.
I'm very detailed, very.
Do you want
I'm not
me
going to need to model for him. Right? That's a different show, right?
Photorealism.
We'll put that on our OnlyFans in Indonesia. We'll be absolutely fine.
No, I'm pretty detailed.
Okay.
I'm a perfectionist. I was that in my football career. I'm a perfectionist with my painting.
And are you doing landscapes? Are you doing like fruit?
No, but it has a sport angle.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And I've done some cycling. I've done some things.
Oh, this is great. No, it's good. No, it's great to have interests. I'm not mocking it at all. Let's talk about Western United. I had a short chat with John Aloisi in the Qantas Lounge in Sydney Airport about 6 months ago, and I don't think they were going that well. But he was very polite because he's a lovely man. They're in their new home, right, finally. That's been talked about forever, and I don't know how you think they're going to go, Archie.
Yeah, this is a hard one. I look at that squad, and look, they've got some quality in that defence, and then what it's going to need, because the old cliche of having a good defence can really take you on to have a successful season. Garucho's now the captain. That's great. I like the leadership they have in this team. There's definitely a lot of leadership. Pasquale in the middle, again, they've signed him on. If he stays fit, he's probably someone that can maybe help there. Great signing, Ibusuki. I don't know why Adelaide let him go. Obviously, they wanted another angle, maybe for whatever reason, but he's such a big signing for them. They haven't been able to fill the boots of like a Prijovic. I know that Botic came in, really set the world on fire, but again, with young guys, it's about having that consistency. We sort of seen that go away, and he didn't score for a long time. I think someone like Ibusuki, where Botic can learn off, especially a young player. I know coming through my career as a youngster, when I had someone that I could really practice from or learn from, and Ibusuki looks like that type of player that is willing to give his time and have that experience. He can learn from that, but it's a hard one to really gauge what this team's going to do.
Yeah, you got Bosanovsky as well, another young player. So again, you're sort of betting on some of them to step up, and Ibusuki, as good as many goals as he scored, he comes with a certain playing style. He's not the most mobile. He's more in the box side of play, so he needs the service. So you look at Thurgate, Pasquale. You're looking at those players. Garucho, which he's done really well, like bombing on. Tate has come in as well. So you're looking at, he needs to get the service. Otherwise, I feel, he can be a bit static in his play. So there's a question mark, and I feel for Aloisi. You went from the top, and suddenly you in a struggle session now, and trying to find solutions, and you're trying to pluck and play, and you're losing players. Just Rushden, an experienced player, they've lost. So there's things there to work with for sure, and. I think he's got a tough job again this season. I hope he doesn't finish last, but it'll be a fight.
And a beautiful thing about I guess for West United is that they've got a home. Like they've actually got a home. They're not shooting all over. And Aloisi's talked about this all last year. Is that they've sort of been playing here, playing there, and not really having a home.
It matters so much.
It does, and now they've got one, and it's only quite small. It's boutique, but they can make it a really.
It's boutique, is it? That's nice.
I like that one.
Yeah,
boutique.
All right, then who's winning? Who's winning it all?
Well, I'm going to go Melbourne Victory.
Ah, of course. Yeah. Wow, that's a shock. What I've seen so far from Sydney, I think on paper and again, relying on Douglas Costa to be motivated for a full season and not go off on a bender somewhere or go salsa dancing down in some clubs. I see them. There's enough service there to score plenty of goals. Lolly as well. What a season he had last year, Caceres. So I've got them as winners.
We have done a reasonable job in listing 13 clubs and getting through it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Archie.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week. Take care.